Leader of the House.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I would like to move all relevant standing orders in order for us to tackle business. Comment business 1, 2, the President's response to the questions pursuant to Section 89 of the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi. I beg to move, Madam.
Thank you, Honorable Leader. Honorable members, we have a motion on the floor, and the motion is that we move all relevant standing orders in order for us to tackle business as stated by the Leader of the House. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary view say no. The ayes have it and the motion is carried.
Government business. Item A, number 2. The President to respond to questions pursuant to Section 89, subsection 3C of the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi.
Honorable members, before I invite the President, let me make the following clarifications. His Excellency. Honorable members, His Excellency the President is here to respond to queries, questions and clarifications on issues which members raised during debate on the State of the Nation address. Members should note that this business item follows the constitutional requirement under Section 89(3)(c) and not 89(4) of the Constitution of the Republic of Malawi. Therefore, proceedings will be guided by the provision of new Standing Order 70B as adopted by the House on Tuesday, 8th September 2020. I will grant His Excellency the President the floor for him to deliver his responses. After delivering his responses, I will then recognize honorable members for supplementary questions based on the responses given by His Excellency the President. I will not allow the use of point of orders as a pretext to raise supplementary questions. All members are free to raise supplementary questions. Members should note that as per the new standing orders, question time to the President is for 1 hour, 30 minutes. I will therefore curtail without question, put proceedings after 1 hour, 30 minutes. After the President's question time, I will ask the mover of the motion on the State Address, Lower West, to wind up debate. Immediately after putting the question on the State Address motion, I will then adjourn the House to Friday, 11th September 2020. Let me also remind members that all other rules of decorum during proceedings will apply. Let me now give the floor to His Excellency the President, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, to take the floor. Your Excellency, sir.
Madam Speaker.
Can I have order, members? Order, please.
Madam Speaker, let me begin by congratulating you and the members here present for supporting my efforts to fulfill this constitutional requirement of appearing before this House to be held accountable as a servant leader of the people. I am not the first to do this, for as rightly pointed out by the honorable member from Zombantonia, whom I congratulate for his designation as the leader of UDF in the House, former President Dr. Bakiri Muruzi was the first to do this. However, As I recall, this was done so briefly and so long ago that it is now all but a fading memory at best. For it was way back in the 90s before the DPP drained the UDF of its lifeblood. A travesty. I'm hopeful the new UDF leadership in the House will correct. In any case, it is my intent to entrench this practice throughout my presidency. For I mean to be the first president to treat constitutional requirements as mandatory and not optional. For that reason, Madam Speaker,
Sorry, Your Excellency, for interruption, but probably our audio maybe will pick it better if you took away the mask. Sorry, Your Excellency.
you have actually freed me immensely, and I'm grateful. It's an honor.
You can proceed, Your Excellency.
For that reason, Madam Speaker, I have keenly followed the contributions made on this floor For that reason, Madam Speaker, I have keenly followed the contributions made on this floor to the debate over my State of the Nation address, and I propose to deal with the matters arising therefrom in three parts. First, as a matter of courtesy, I will respond to the concerns raised by the Honorable Leader of Opposition, then respond to those raised by other members, and finally conclude by fielding supplementary questions for as long as that time permits. Madam Speaker, it should come as no surprise that the Leader of Opposition and I have different views of both the country and his party's performance in government over the past 6 years. For example, he praises his party's president for, quote, significantly setting the pace for our development, end of quote. But I fail to see how he arrives at the conclusion. For one of the reasons Malawians fired his party from running the affairs of this nation is because it significantly slowed the pace of our development. After all, Malawi is neither the Singapore nor the Europe that the DPP promised. It is therefore amusing that even though the Leader of Opposition was a cabinet minister 3 months ago and supported a budget presented here by his party, he did not at that time have the insight to include in that budget the risk allowances for teachers that he is now advocating for. As such, I feel safe in my conclusion that his clarity of vision is only useful for looking back at his own failures and of no help in helping us see a way forward. May I therefore ask him to leave the teachers' risk allowances to us, for he and his ilk have failed to deliver the same and it is we who will look after our teachers as they deserve. Madam Speaker, I also note that the Honorable Leader of the Opposition led the pack in attacking my proposal to save billions of taxes by constructing official parliamentary residences in our constituencies. Joining him in this assault were the honorable members for Chakwera North, Zomba Antonia, and Koragora Northeast. I believe that their fallacious misrepresentation of the proposal was ably dealt with by the honorable member for Nshisu South. But allow me to say only two things more on this. The people of Malawi will pay over 2.7 billion in housing allowances to the members of this House during their term of office. Yet, not a single member has stood up to say that they would like to forfeit this allowance to go towards their constituents. From this double standard, I discern that the objections to the provision of an official house for MPs are not motivated by a desire to save money, but a desire to keep Malawians paying MPs' housing allowances indefinitely. My proposal would cost the Malawian taxpayer nothing and save the taxpayer billions in the long term. So I'm amazed that there are members here who believe it would be better to keep costing the taxpayer billions and saving the taxpayer nothing. Secondly, I reject the suggestion that building houses for MPs means that we will not build houses for teachers, nurses, soldiers, and civil servants. The housing crisis among our civil servants is a DPP legacy my administration is going to reverse. And the DPP should not even deny that the housing crisis among civil servants is their creation. For the leader of opposition himself admitted that after 11 years of DPP administration, quote, civil servants, including teachers, nurses, police and army officers, social welfare officers, and agriculture extension workers, end of quote, live in what he described as dilapidated houses. My administration is here to clean up that mess. It is evident, Madam Speaker, that reality has not yet sunk in for the leader of opposition, for his rhetoric is littered with fantasies. He alleges that the June 23rd polls, quote, divided the nation along tribal and regional lines, end of quote. The reality is that it is his party that attempted and failed to divide the country along those lines. But thankfully, the Malawian people did not allow it. 1 in 3 of every Malawian who voted for me was from a region other than my own. And so the honorable leader of opposition's aspersions do not stand up to the scrutiny of facts. In fact, I imagine that it is this disregard for facts that led him to claim, as many as 6 times in his address, that my administration has been in office for 3 months, when it has in fact been less than 75 days. In this regard, I must thank both the Minister of Forestry and Natural Resources from my party and the Honorable Member for Mulanje Southwest, from his party for pointing out to the leader of opposition that I have been in office for, quote, 2 months, end of quote. Unfortunately, in so doing, they have exposed the DPP's error of expecting Malawians to trust the leader of opposition to lead when he cannot even be trusted to count. He would do well to borrow a leaf from the honorable member of Chakwera North, whose contribution was quite substantive, with the notable exception of his advocacy of the failed policy of filling our land with stadia. Notwithstanding, I applaud the member of Chakwera North for coming to the rescue of the leader of opposition by raising very pertinent issues related to public debt, taxation, forex ideology, and modalities of the Millennium Challenge account. I will, of course, not address these areas related to our approach to Malawi's fiscus, because I do not want to preempt the articulation of those things in the Minister of Finance presentation of my budget to this House tomorrow. But I concur with his view that these are necessary to outline. The question from Chakwera North that I can address with speed has to do with my promise to reduce presidential powers. In a nutshell, there is one executive power, one administrative power, and one ceremonial power that I propose to dispense with without crippling the functionality of the presidency. The executive power due for review is the power to appoint the director of the Anti-Corruption Bureau. For it is in my view that Parliament should interview suitable candidates publicly and nominate 3 names to the President so that one of them can be appointed. Similarly, I hold that all candidates for public offices that are subject to confirmation by the Public Appointment Committee of Parliament be interviewed publicly. The administrative power due for review is the power to control the cash flow of Parliament. For it is my view that, as it is with the judiciary, once a budget is passed, Parliament's vote should be ring-fenced and put in accounts controlled by the legislature itself, subject to its own audits. The ceremonial power due for review is a power to preside over public universities as chancellor, which is a relic of a bygone era. In this new century, where our goal is to increase the number of public universities and establish them as bastions of free thought, academic administrators must be fully empowered to run our universities. Each of these changes is unprecedented, but needed nonetheless, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me return to the Honorable Leader of Opposition's queries. If I agree with him on anything, it is in his denunciation of regionalism. And I am pleased that he acknowledged that the seeds of our fight against tribalism were sown by Dr. Hastings Kamuzubanda and watered by Dr. Bakiri Muruzi. However, even here, in matters of historical fact, it seems necessary to furnish the leader of opposition with basic facts. For he wrongly referred to Kamuzu as father and founder of the Malawi Congress Party, which he was not. Still, it is to the leader.
Order, honorable members, order please.
He was father and
Honorable members, can I have order on my left please?
He was father and founder of the Malawi nation. The Malawi Congress Party was founded when he was in prison, and the first leader was Oron Chira. Still, it is to the leader of opposition's credit that he did not engage in the fruitful exercise of giving his own party any credit for resisting the poison of regionalism, of which they are as guilty as sin. For even he knows that it is his party that went around the country telling Malawians that no president will ever come from the northern or central regions. But God,
Please, order, honorable members. Can I have order please? Let me have order please.
even when some people said
Order
over
on
my
left,
dead
order,
body,
please.
but God is good.
Honorable members, last time I'm asking for order.
God is
I don't
good.
want to send you out, please.
I said God is good. I also agree with him when he says that Malawians have high expectations of my administration, or that, quote, Malawians cannot wait to start eating 3 meals a day, to start buying cheap fertilizer at 4,495 kwacha per 50-kilogram bag, end of quote. What he seems to not understand, Madam Speaker, is that Malawians are now waiting for these things because they know that these things are on the way. He seems not to understand that the fact that Malawians are waiting for these good things means that their confidence in government is already being restored. For we all know that Malawians had stopped waiting for anything good to come out of DPP a long time ago. Even he himself seems eager to see these good things from my administration that he never witnessed from that of his party. And a case in point is his anxiety to see a timeline for my promises, which is strange, considering that he himself goes on to repeat the timelines I mentioned in relation to birth rates and death rates. Similarly, Madam Speaker, he alleges that my SONA was empty on strategies for increasing the enrollment capacity of literacy classes. Never mind the various capacity building programs that I had outlined. Still, Madam Speaker, worse than his penchant for selective reading is his total misreading of my comments about the culture of allowances in the civil service, as well as his misrepresentation of the status of the DPP electoral commissioners. I will not respond to the allegation that I have directed that civil servants' allowances be scrapped, since the leader of the House already disposed of this lie with great industry. As for the status of the 2 DPP-nominated commissioners of MEC, I would advise the leader of opposition to ask the state commissioners on what I said to them and the whole Electoral Commission when they reported their activities to me August 20th. He will find that his perspective is off track. However, Madam Speaker, allow me to put the leader of opposition at ease about 2 things. About 2 things he clearly misunderstood from my sonar. The first is about expatriates, contrary to his insinuation that my position...
Zomba Chingari, can I have order, please? Next time you're going to go out if you continue.
Contrary, Madam Speaker, to his insinuation that my position was a sweeping statement against foreign experts working here, I clearly said that we should welcome expertise from all over the world, but guard against their absorption of jobs that can be done by Malawians, which is in fact already against the law. The second and last is his insinuation that the principal secretaries I have moved around the civil service have been moved around because, quote, they are perceived to be DPP sympathizers, end of quote. I think the leader of opposition should tell us who it is, who it is that perceives these principal secretaries as being DPP sympathizers. I say this because, as far as I know, all principal secretaries are by law required to be nonpartisan in the conduct of their work. So if he perceives the 13 principal secretaries he mentioned as being partisan, he should tell us how he knows that these civil servants are sympathizers of his party. I must hasten, Madam Speaker, to add that he must also take off his partisan license when assessing the arrests effected by the police against suspected lawbreakers. As far as I know, no official of the DPP has been arrested, unless we all are speaking of arresting development. But if those public servants who have been arrested are DPP members, let the leader of opposition tell us plainly. In any event, neither I nor the Vice President have any involvement in the decisions made by law enforcement agencies about whom to arrest, for they are now enjoying the independence from political interference they were denied by DPP administration. An administration which sent police officers to bomb and tear gas MCP offices, including the MCP headquarters, while the American ambassador was paying me a courtesy call. That kind of political witch hunting is over, and we will not miss it. To demonstrate my resolve to neither shield nor persecute anyone, the honorable member from Zimba North stood on this floor on the afternoon of Monday and alleged that there are members of my cabinet receiving bribes from Asians to obstruct the course of justice, and that he even knows where this money is kept. I challenge him to ride in my convoy after this meeting and take us to the place where the money is, so that the police can arrest such. Or else, all Malawians will be left with no choice but to conclude that this is nothing more than slander. Madam Speaker, since I expect that the honorable member from Zimba North will not do so, I will not dwell too much on the questions he raised, except to assure him on one point, enlighten him on 2 points, and agree with him on 3. He asked if I am willing to allow the Malawian people judge my performance in the future. And here I can assure him that I am duty-bound to do so. The 2 insights I feel compelled to offer him are related to access to information and the externalization of gold. As most members here know, access to information is not a bill coming to this House, as the honorable member from Zimba North supposes, but it was already passed into law December 14th, 2016, which is why the focus of my administration is to operationalizing it. As for his curiosity about gold, it should be of interest to him to know that a 2019 analysis by Reuters determined that in 2016, $15.1 billion worth of gold was imported from Africa by the United Arab Emirates alone, without being recorded in the exports of African states. Accordingly, the Observatory of Economic Complexity established that $88 million worth of this gold came from Malawi. Finally, I agree with his assessment that Malawi is in desperate need of banking reform, land reform, and industrial reforms, and my administration is fully committed to the facilitation of the same. Madam Speaker, the subject of industrial reforms brings me naturally to the legitimate concern raised by the leader of UDF in the House regarding the environment, which also relates to issues of climate change, as raised by the honorable member of Chakwera North. I wish to agree fully, without reservation, with the statement made by the leader of UDF in the House, saying that, quote, "Without healthy ecologies, we cannot achieve healthy economies," end of quote. Just this week, I met with the eminent environmentalist, Professor Sosten Jota, to weigh in on my ambitious agenda to address climate change issues in a way that will galvanize the whole country to treat this as the existential threat that it is. My agenda, developed in consultation with the Ministry of Forestry and Natural Resources, seeks to address challenges we face as a nation in the areas of environmental management, forestry management, water management, and climate change management. Because of the seriousness I attach to this cause, I left the subject out of the SONA so that I could address the whole nation on these issues with singular focus later this month. This is because I do not view this area as the responsibility of government alone, but a matter of survival for our people and for all of us. I therefore look forward to unveiling this program soon. Madam Speaker, let me stop here for now in order to field as many of the members' questions as your standing orders and time will allow. But I thank you most kindly for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Honorable members, as I announced earlier, we can ask supplementary questions. Nkota North East, do you have the floor? So, yes, you have the floor, Nkota. Can you give her a mic, please?
Thank you very much. The right honorable Speaker for granting the Northeast to ask a supplementary question to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Malawi. Madam Speaker, when you go to page 10 of the State of the Nation Address, you will find that the President has highlighted that his administration is going to identify the investor to come up with a plan for the project of constructing official residences to the members of Parliament. My first question is, who is this investor and at how much? So that we should know the cost benefit of the project vis-a-vis other priorities within the country. My second and last one, because we are so many, is on the issue of allowances for teachers on COVID-19. Is the President aware that when the former head of state, Professor Akefe Mviza, declared this country as a state of disaster due to COVID-19, all schools were closed and that teachers were not frontliners to the COVID-19, unlike the current scenario? I thank you, the Right Honorable Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Kim Kodakoda Northeast. Your Excellency, we'll get 3 questions and then Honorable Member for Machinga Likwenu and then Mangochi Mankibe.
Madam Speaker, in his opening statement, Mr. President said that he is here because of his ardent desire to respect the Constitution. I draw the President to Section 43 of the Constitution, which says, every person shall have the right lawful and procedurally fair administrative action which is justifiable in relation to reasons given where his or her rights, freedoms, legitimate expectations, or interests are affected or threatened. To be furnished with reasons in writing for administrative action where his rights, freedom, legitimate expectation, or interest are affected. Madam Speaker, about 2 weeks ago, the Honorable Attorney General wrote to the Office of the President and to his government, alerting the President to the risks of arbitrarily dismissing, transferring, seconding public servants. Is the President going to respect the Attorney General and reinstate all the people that he has dismissed, transferred, seconded, contrary to the advice of the Attorney General?
Thank you, honorable members. Just a guide, honorable member for Machinga Likwet. If you remember, I did clearly guide that today's questions are on the SONA. Today's questions are on the SONA, and we're supposed to concentrate on the SONA. If you have other specific questions to the President.
I respect, Madam. At page 5 of the SONA, he makes reference to the subject matter I'm discussing, and he went to town attacking the leader of opposition on the very fact of public appointments.
Mankibe, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the honor given to me to ask a question to His Excellency, the President of this country. My question is on affordable input program, which in responding, His Excellency made mention that the supplies that people have been waiting for are on the way. One of the reasons, Your Excellency, but first of all, I have to congratulate you for this particular program, because if it's going to work, then it's going to be a big milestone for your administration. But one of the challenges that FISIP met during its implementation is unscrupulous suppliers who, instead of supplying the fertilizer, which was intended to land onto the cultivated gardens, they were simply going around to buy the coupons and claim money from the coupons. Now this meant that the intended fertilizer did not reach the intended cultivated gardens. I see the same possibility on the AIP, and I wanted to ask if you ever gave it a thought, and if you gave it a thought, would you please enlighten this House as to what measures would be put in place to ensure that that doesn't happen? And the way I think it's going to be happening is that the suppliers, whether using coupons or using whatever form of information technology, the suppliers could simply receive the 4.495, and instead of issuing fertilizer to the buyer, they give a 10,000 kwacha to them, and most of them will be attracted for that. With that, they will get money, they will give little money and get more money out of it instead of getting the fertilizer. So a supplier would simply be circulating the few bags of fertilizer that are in his shop to to so many beneficiaries. For example, you can own a shop where you are only stocking 100 bags of fertilizer. Instead of selling and issuing the fertilizer, you receive the money and give more money and recycle those 100 bags to so many beneficiaries. So it will register at the central office that indeed fertilizer has been sold, but that fertilizer has not actually gone to the gardens, and therefore whatever we plan to produce out of this program might not be produced. I wanted to find out, Your Excellency, whether there are measures that have been put in place to curb these unscrupulous suppliers. Thank you.
Thank you. Your Excellency, I'll now give you the floor to respond to the 3 questions, then we'll get another set of questions. Your Excellency, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Kolagota Northeast wanted to find out if an investor has been identified, who it is, and second of all, she wanted to find out, or she wanted to make this statement that COVID-19 allowances for teachers vis-a-vis the state of disaster that had been declared, and schools were therefore closed, so they would not have thought about it. Let the Koragora Northeast people know that what is contained in the SONA is an expression of intent, and the processes that are needful to do the due diligence will be followed for the identification of such. I have no one in mind except to say that this is something that needs to be looked into. Second of all, by law, the Disaster Preparedness as a Relief Act says that only a state of disaster that can be declared is for 3 months, unless the devastation or the declaration is renewed. And so there was no renewal of the same. But be that as it may, school teachers are critical to Malawi's development. When the Minister of Education employs well over 80,000, and we're not even talking about private schools and so forth, this is a great contingent of service providers our nation desperately needs. And therefore, I said, rather than decry the fact that they are talking of the past, let us deal with that issue now, because we are already in the process of looking at so many issues that teachers needed to have, issues that government needed to have paid attention with regard to teachers. Issues of arrears, for example, issues of promotion, issues to do with salary increments. These things must be looked at in a holistic fashion. But we understand, right now we have a pandemic with us. Let this thing not be politicized in any way or fashion. We want to make sure that these things are handled, and we will handle them. Machingali Kwenu talked about Section 43 of the Constitution and read the relevant part that he premised his question on. I can assure you that even though the constitutional reference was not a part of my SONA, no prejudice has been suffered by those transferred on the same grade and no loss of salary at all. MPSR operationalizes the constitutional requirements vis-a-vis the transfer of public servants or civil servants. And if at any given time they demonstrated that that's how they were doing it, they probably would have a much more holy ground to stand on. These are administrative issues that take place from time to time in all of the civil service. Those whose contracts have been terminated, if any, will be heard. We receive letters for reasons of termination because they are always given. Nothing is done arbitrarily. I can assure you that when they read documents purportedly coming from the Attorney General with respect to these things, let those issues be handled administratively. It has nothing to do with them because of this. The President cannot be asking, do you respect the Attorney General's advice? We are coming from an era in which the Attorney General has been used politically to give advice contrary to what the laws of this nation state. In disciplinary issues, some of these things have to be taken into account. But nowhere has any of what the Attorney General said been breached by what has happened in my office. Mangochi Monkey Bay asked about the affordable imports program and based his question on the experience of the phased out feast program that had challenges, which challenges at times through studies and research had been pointed out, that beneficiaries rarely benefited from that program because of middle people that used to swindle people from accessing the same. Let me just state that IDs will be used and entitlements or inputs are displayed after swiping on supplier's smartphone. So everything will be done in the open. Small stakeholders such as security and police and intelligence are also involved in this. Any corrupt practice will not be entertained at all. And I want to reassure the nation that these things will be done in such a way that even those who have complaints, and if it is linked to something unscrupulous, as it has been stated, used to happen, they will have to face the law. We will not entertain. We will not entertain any shenanigans in this program when Malawians have suffered so long. Madam Speaker, let me stop there for a moment.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Salima Northeast. Salima North East, then Lilongwe South. It's not, is it Salima North East or Northwest? Northwest.
Oh, thank you so much. Madam Speaker, it's now working. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for according Salima Northwest constituency to ask our beloved President a question. Madam Speaker, this country, inclusive of my constituency, has got many people and patients suffering from different types of cancers that require specialized clinical management at hospitals, either locally or abroad. Because the same, if they are to access that treatment abroad, is never available within the country. Madam Speaker, through you, by calculation, I'm informed that a management of one case costs at an estimation of $12,000, and this excludes air travel and accommodation. And we've got limited resources within our external referral budgets to send patients abroad. Therefore, the question is, what plans does this beloved government and the government of the people has to have to ensure that there is speedy finalization of the cancer treatment center at Central Hospital, so that patients who require cancer services, especially, Madam Speaker, radiotherapy, can access the same, which has been ignored by the previous government. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Lilongwe, what has gone out of order?
Madam Speaker, the guidance of this House through you was that when the President comes here, we shall restrict our questions to the SONA. That this time will be dedicated for the SONA only. Is the honorable member there within orders that he should be talking about the cancer and the cancer and the cancer and the cancer?
Honorable, without being reflecting on you, I'm sure cancer is it's a health matter, which I think he's allowed to ask, because he's asking cancer should be it's a health matter. Contrary to the instructions, yes, I recognize Lilongwe South and then Rumpi East.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Through you, Honorable Speaker, I would like to sincerely thank the State President and the Vice President who are together this afternoon in this House to respond to questions before them in obedience to the law. Madam Speaker, my question is basically to do with the response of His Excellency, the President, to the Leader of Opposition regarding those that have been arrested and have been suspected to have stolen resources from government coffers. Right Honorable Speaker, my question basically is to ask His Excellency what his government intends to do in order to make sure that the resources that these suspects looted from the state coffers, and we heard from the Leader of Opposition that these suspects are basically DBB sympathizers, how the government is going to make sure that the resources that were looted are actually recovered and there is a proper restitution. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Rumpi East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My questions are related to restoration. That was the hub of a SONA address.
Can you speak up, Honorable Member for Rumpi East, please?
Thank you, Madam Right Honorable Speaker, for granting the people of Rumpi East this opportunity to ask the State President. But before I do that, may I congratulate the President, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, for a victory well deserved. My question, first question is restoration. Has he thought of accords? Has he thought of a transformational solution? Has he thought of a reconciliation? These three elements in restoration. Lastly, restoration. I would like to ask him if indeed he has also considered, which has been a pain, and I should appeal to my fellow members of parliament, don't misquote me, don't misunderstand me, but this is a fact. Restoration on press trust. Press trust was dubiously acquired, and it was a pain of the former head of state how it was acquired. At that particular time, I happened to be a director, divisional, agriculture divisional service. Have you thought of addressing this issue of how press trust was dubiously acquired, dubiously passed in this house, to take away from the owner with dubious information and dubious way of doing it? This is something that we have to address if we are to restore order and discipline in this country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We have, honorable members, we have 3 questions, and I'll ask His Excellency to respond, and then I'll take another set. Your Excellency, please.
Madam Speaker,
Can we reduce the background noise, please?
Salima Northwest asked a very important question with regard to the cancer center vis-a-vis cancer patients who have to receive treatment outside the country and have been receiving treatment outside the country when we could have our own. I just want to agree with the honorable member that there are many patients with different types of cancers who do require specialized clinical management at hospitals abroad, and it is quite costly for government. People will recall that government has constructed a 60-bed cancer center in Lilongwe, which will provide radiotherapy services within this financial year. The project, however, has delayed because the construction of the radiotherapy bunkers, due to capacity challenges by the consultant who was recommended by the International Atomic Energy Agency, has had to be revisited. The Minister of Health is concluding that recruitment of an experienced consultant, and plans are already underway for that constructor to be on site by December this year. And so I want to assure everyone, because under this project, the ministry is also training a number of personnel in all the cadres who will be part of that center so they can make it fully operational. The center will also be equipped with key radiotherapy equipment, namely the linear accelerator and the cobalt machines, and also branch therapy machines for cervical cancer. Honorable Speaker, you may wish to know that there are already ongoing plans to invest in building local capacity interns so that cleaner expertise and specialized pieces of medical equipment can be utilized. And the plan is to have centers of excellence in 2 other major areas that necessitate the need for referral of patients abroad. And that has to do with eye and heart conditions, mainly in children, in addition to the cancer management that I've already discussed. These are issues that build on what already is in order for us to finish that and then move on to other areas of need. Lilongwe South asked about what government intends to do to recover looted resources. And since he made mention of cases that are already in court, I will not say much except to say that let the law take its course. Rumpi East asked several questions on the issue of restoration, and then he went on to talk about whether I have considered transformational means to effect some of these in terms of reconciliation, in terms of unity, and then went on to talk about restoration in terms of certain entities, such as Press Trust, which he said was dubiously acquired. He seems to know a lot more. And my simple consideration of that question is that this was reconstituted under the Press Trust Reconstruction Act, which was passed by this very House. Albeit at that time, the doctrine of necessity was used as a way of making that. So then, if we make the law, we are also the ones in Parliament to make the law, but it is not for me necessarily to dictate. If these issues can be brought to our attention like he is bringing that to our attention, they can be considered. But I wouldn't tell you that I had considered it because I hadn't. But in terms of other issues to do with national reconciliation, I did speak about the fact that we want to go deeper, beyond than the compensation tribunal that had been set up. At that time, much of the emphasis had been on monetary compensation, but there was very little to do with psychosocial and spiritual effects of that which was being addressed. And genuine reconciliation does not take place until there is a confrontation of issues that may have caused such, and then healing takes place. This is the reason that I was making mention of the fact that not only have we set aside or set up a different or a separate ministry of civic education and national unity, we intend to also go beyond the peace policy that had been launched in this country according to Section 13 of our Constitution, that we have a peace commission that would be a constitutional commission like other commissions. But we need to bring these things together so we are able to have a comprehensive way of making sure that in this nation, no one should be stroking wounds so they do not heal, because everybody has scars. And those who stroke these wounds many, many times are the ones needing healing. And we want to look at how this nation can truly become one nation without any part or any tribe or any region suffering continuously and needlessly. And this is what this administration is all about with regard to restoration. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very much, Your Excellency. Machinga East. Oh, sorry. Honorable Leader of Opposition, then Machinga East.
Your Excellency, welcome to the House.
Thank you.
May I ask you to take it easy? Smile a bit, because this is just a democratic debate. Madam Speaker, when I rose in this House to respond to the President's statement, I didn't know that I'm the one presenting the SONA which the President has come to respond to me today. Because
order, please, honorable members, order, please.
His Excellency has repeatedly, more than 20 times, Leader of Opposition, Leader of Opposition, Leader of Opposition. To that, I say thank you. But two things. Your Excellency, on the issue of the Malawi Electoral Commission, the commissioners, I would ask you maybe to do us a favor to give us an exact answer, because I'm aware you met them on the 20th of August, and what you said in that meeting, when they complained to you, you said you look into the matter. Now this is, the 10th of September, 20 days later, the letters have not yet still been received. So I thought that you could clarify more on that with due respect. Secondly, on the political front, I wanted to ask Your Excellency to be sincere, to say that is what you are running a Tonse government, a Tonse Alliance government, or an MCP government? The reason is simple. One, you came here, talked much about your high-five MCP agenda, forgetting that within your alliance, there are the likes of Honorable Michael Usi, who had his own ojaza garibe mulandu. I thought that could have been incorporated into that.
Point of order.
Secondly, and lastly, during the campaign, you crisscrossed the country with a horde of politicians supporting you, renowned and experienced politicians, the Right Honorable Kumbo Hastings Kachali, Haren Kandawire, Yeremia Chehana, this Dr. Chisi, Frank Manifumbo, and others. The thing is, my question is, where are they now? Was it a matter of
Point of order.
What has gone out of order, leader? Honorable leader of opposition, we have a point of order from the leader.
No,
the leader is
I'm finishing. I'm saying that's the last part. That's the last part of my my question. So I just wanted to the president to clarify, to say, are we running? Is he running a Tonsalas government or an MCP government? I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Leader of the House, you had something?
Madam Speaker, I would like to ask whether the leader of opposition is in order for actually leaving out the whole SONA now, and now starting concentrating on the political side of it. I want to know whether that is in order or out of order, because he's now talking about politics and asking where Hastings Kumbo Kachari is, when he has got a phone number for Hastings Kumbo Kachari. What he can just do is go and call him and ask where Hastings Kumbo Kachari is, and that's simple as that.
Thank you, leader. Indeed, my guidance, Your Excellency, you pick on the questions that are directly related. You don't have to answer anything that is just probably lighter moment. Thank you. I already recognized Machinga East and then Cholo Tava.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me take the House to page 19 of the SONA, where the President is talking about making the Access to Information Act operation. I would like to ask the President, how far has his administration gone in as far as making the Land Act, which this Parliament passed a long time ago, operation? The second question, I'm taking it from page 17 of the SONA, where the President is talking about empowering the youth and women. I would like to find out from the President, how will the President ensure and enforce the compliance to the gender quota, the 46 seat in the public service, particularly through making sure that compliance is not selective across all appointments as a matter of law, as it is stipulated in the Gender Equality Act. My third question is that how will the President ensure that there is a policy that guarantee the access of women-led businesses or cooperatives and also enterprises to the public procurement tenders and contract as a matter of gender-sensitive distribution of government's business share and to achieve women's equitable access business opportunities. My last question, Honorable Speaker, is that what will the President do to ensure that the Minister of Gender, which is the policy holder on the gender equality, provided with adequate resources to run the country's agenda on gender equality. Thank you very much, Mr. Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Machinga East Cholotava. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, in your SONA on page 28, issues to do with foreign affairs. I would like to find out from you, Mr. President, in as much as we are a sovereign state, was your intention to open our country's embassy in Jerusalem done in consultation with the United Nations, bearing in mind the existing Security Council resolutions? Secondly, Mr. President, I would like to congratulate you. It was pleasing to see you visit the Area 18 roundabout project, and we expect such visits to other projects that the DPP government, under the wise dynamic leadership of Professor Arthur Mutaliga, has done. And if possible, Mr. President, congratulate the former president. I thank you. Thank you. Your Excellency the President, we have 3 questions. I humbly request you to respond. I humbly request Your Excellency to respond to the 3 questions. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I am so delighted that the Honorable Leader of Opposition is wanting me to stand easy. My seriousness is because I want the Honorable Leader of Opposition to know that I take him seriously. We must discuss issues regarding our country's future seriously, and that is the reason I wanted to respond as seriously as I best can. Second of all, he says, can you do us a favor to give us an exact answer vis-a-vis DPP Make commissioners? Let me say this. There's 2 things, because I'm volunteering information now, because I want to take you seriously. The courts said Parliament should look at the Commissioner's performance vis-a-vis last year's election. And Parliament found them incompetent. And then the matter was referred to by way of appeal to the Supreme Court of this nation. I mean the elections case. In the Supreme Court, then it was said almost blatantly that the commissioners were incompetent. when the law of this House passed saying how a president should nominate or should appoint commissioners, it was clear that those parties that had qualified needed to submit or have 3 people. That was never done. Now, I, as an affected person, what I told the commissioners was, these things are being looked into by the people, because I did not want to be seen as the one that is driving that, because I said, I have no issues. Let issues be done in accordance with the law. And when that issue comes back to me as an appointing authority, I can deal with it, but not at that stage. And thank you for bringing that information to say your commissioners have not received appointment letters. But that's what I can tell you as of now. When you talk about issues to do with a political front, and you wanted me to be as candid, the question was, is this a Tonse government or MCP government? And the reason you posed that question was in regard to the high five. And you mentioned the fact that there are other issues there, making reference to our Minister of Tourism and what he used to say about what would you say? I remember. Which being interpreted roughly means, let everyone be responsible for what they do. I can assure you that all of the manifestos, and particularly the MCP UTM manifestos, all of them come under an umbrella of a value system that High Fife represents. That is the reason, even when they campaigned to support this alliance, they would make mention of such. Nobody is against unity in this country. Nobody is against servant leadership. Nobody is against Malawians prospering. Nobody is against fighting corruption, unless you want to tell us you want to not fight it. Nobody is against. Nobody is against following the rule of law. That is why even Machinga Likwenu was going back to issues of the law. Everyone is agreeing. And all of these details, manifestos, can be under this umbrella. These are values that we all need. Just like we all need to be people of integrity. We all need to be hardworking people. And we all need to be patriotic. These are values. So what about experienced politicians that campaign for you? Where are they? They are in Malawi. But I want you to understand this too. The culture of thinking that because we want everything good for Malawi, and therefore those who work for that must of necessity be somewhere, is a mistaken thing, because I can tell you this. God being my witness, if the Lord hadn't been for Malawi, I wouldn't even be standing here. But you must understand there's been coalitions of people all over the country, different stakeholders, that made it possible for this election to end the way it did. And there is peace everywhere. And so if you want to stroke those kind of finer sensibilities where you would wish the Toast Alliance would break, it's not going to break. Machinga East talked about
members, order please, order.
Machinga East talked about ATI, the Access to Information Act. By the way, tomorrow is the day.
Honorable members, can I have order please?
Tomorrow is going to be the day it's going to be gazetted in terms of being operationalized. But ATI was just used in order that you might ask about the Land Act. We would love for you to know that those things that I referred to in the SONA and made reference to are those things that we were read about, but the land issues will be revisited in accordance with many of the questions that had been raised with regard to reforms, just like the Honorable Member of Mzimba North had stated. So these are ongoing issues, and thank you for bringing that up. With regard to gender issues, I want you to know we will do more. People said cabinet is not 60-40. It could be 61-39 with a fraction, but we will do more. It has never happened in this country like this. The policy of women, in order that they may be empowered, this is under discussion, and we will revert because we truly want to make sure that women are empowered. This is like specific action to make sure that those that are disadvantaged can have the impetus to compete on an equal footing. And we will do that. And we are reviewing even resources for the gender ministry. We want to make sure that we follow the law, however challenging it might be, because we have so committed ourselves. Some of the other issues are yet to be fully discussed in terms of how you balance, or how to use the word you use, these opportunities are equitably distributed. what this House passes sometimes needs revisiting in order to define more clearly and more perfectly issues that have to do with what our Constitution says. Because the Constitution is the supreme law. And so what we decide here, even in subsidiary legislature, it has to be in conformity with what the supreme law says. And some of these issues to do with business need to be revisited with that in mind. Chorotava then went on to talk about protocols at United Nations and African Union vis-a-vis the announcement regarding restoration of relations with Israel, building an embassy in Jerusalem. I want you all to know, through Madam Speaker, that I am happy that an issue like this can generate debate. Debating about issues is what challenges status quo and what makes democracy possible. Malawi is a sovereign state, so is Israel. And these matters can be dealt with cognizant of what the protocols are, but certain things must be challenged so people do not just sit with the accepted version of things. In any area and every area, even experts must be challenged. That's how advancement takes place. And so this has nothing to do with anything other than to say relations will be established with any and every country provided it is for the benefit of the Malawian people. And I want to thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. That marks the end of question time. Remember, honorable members, it was 1 hour. Honorable member, it was 1 hour, 30 minutes for questions. Honorable members, can I have order, please?
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, first I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, for fulfilling the constitutional requirement for you to come. We are very grateful for this time that you've accorded us. And honorable members, I would also like to remind you that the President also made a commitment that he's going to be coming here again to answer questions. So for those that did not get a chance to answer questions the President today, you will still have time. My request is that you should forward your questions to the office so that we can forward them to the President. At an appropriate time, the President will still come back to answer us the questions. So for those that did not get a chance today, don't lose heart. But thank you once again, Your Excellency, for coming to the House. Leader of the House, you have...
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I therefore like to move a motion that debate.
Honorable member for Doha West. Honorable member for Doha West, for winding up. Honorable member for Doha West, I saw the leader of opposition standing. Was there? Can you give him a mic, please?
Of Malawi, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, actually for the confidence and courage that he has shown today, because history has shown that in the past, presidents were afraid to face the nation in terms of answering the questions. Right Honorable Speaker, not only has the President set the history today, but he has even convinced the opposition that you could have the President that is confident and a servant leader who is ready to answer questions on behalf of his own government. Madam Speaker, the President did not come alone. He came into this chamber alongside his Vice President, Dr. Lazarus Chakwera. While the opposition could feel happy that they would want to divide these two, but God says no, because the destiny that they have taken, they want to shape the public good. Having said that, Madam Speaker, the President simplified my work today. Some of the issues that I could have covered, he has already covered. But suffice just to respond to an issue. The leader of opposition, in his response to the SONA, insinuated that there are political persecution and arrests in this country.
Honorable members, order please.
Madam Speaker, the Tonse government led by Dr. Lazarus Chakwera respects the rule of law. And the rule of law demands high levels of respect for the Constitution and the independence of the governance institutions. If at all the governance institutions, the law enforcement organizations have done some arrests, it could be as a result of the crimes that were committed as reflected in the cash gate, cement gate. All those issues, Madam Speaker, clearly indicates that the law enforcement organizations are allowed independently to discharge their own duties. Madam Speaker, there was an issue about higher levels of debt. Both sides of Parliament indicated that we need to control our levels of debt. We totally agree with the views as shared by members. This government is going to do that by diversifying the economy. The President talked about establishing special economic zones. These will be the zones, the economic hubs for our industrialization. Not only that, Madam Speaker, if we talk about national competitive advantage, the country has got abundant resources. I can mention about the gypsum along the Damboland of Ndika. I can mention about graphite in Katengeza. I can mention about rare earth in Palombe. These are strategic minerals that could assist us to uplift our own poverty and also grow the economy. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I know some of the issues being raised by the opposition could be out of frustration because they lost the plot. That is normal. But I humbly request both sides of the House to accept and adopt this SONA, because it is talking to the poor man in the village that it is possible to empower our poor women through the business loans. It is talking to our youths. It is also talking about job creation. And Madam Speaker, one of the opportunities that have arisen, the first beneficiary has been the leader of opposition. If we did not win this government, honorable leader of opposition could have not been the leader of opposition at present. With these few remarks, Madam Speaker, I move that the whole House, regardless of political affiliation, entrenched interests, should accept the SONA as it reflects the true direction that the country is going to take socio-economically to develop Malawi. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I beg to move.
Thank you, Noah. Honorable members, we have a motion on the floor, and the motion is that this House do agree with the State of the Nation address. I think I'll just announce that we will Leader of the House.
Madam Speaker,
you have the floor, Leader.
Thank you. Madam, I would like to Madam Speaker, I wanted to mention one thing and then move a motion. The House may recall that the leader of opposition is always given 45 minutes in his responses. The fact is that he's a senior leader, that other side. And everything that he says must be taken very seriously. And even in the resolutions that we made at Business Committee, was that the President can miss one or two things, but anything that came from the leader of opposition must be taken very seriously. Hence, we want to thank the President for giving attention to the leader of opposition. Yes, I wanted to make that submission, that we take him very seriously. That's why even our leader here took that. I wanted to make that. Now, Madam Speaker, the House having done a good job, I would like to move a motion that all relevant standing orders be waived in order to allow the House adjourn earlier today. I beg to move, Madam.
Honorable Leader, remember when we're doing the procedures for today, the President's answering questions. The procedure is normal. Immediately after the President's answers and questions, that means the adjournment. So it's already there. We don't have to do a motion. But honorable members, before I adjourn the House, let me remind the House that the Minister of Finance will tomorrow present his budget statement in this chamber at 9:30 a.m. And immediately after I adjourn the House, once my procession of the Speaker, we will all still be standing and let the President and the Vice President go out of the chamber, and then the rest of the members can only follow after the President and the Vice President has left. So after the Speaker's procession, the President and the Vice President. Honorable members, and now adjourn the House to tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. House adjourned.